2022 in many ways was strange in the sense that the incumbent party of the president actually gained ground in a lot of elections for the first time since 2002. And while you wouldn't necessarily draw that conclusion from the US House elections where Republicans gained a net of 9 seats, you could really start seeing it in the gubernatorial elections. Democrats had many competitive races going into the 2022 elections, but of the 22 governorships they held, they won 21 of their incumbent governors and picked up 3 others. Now, 2 of these gains were rather unsurprising. One was in Massachusetts, where Democrat Maura Healey beat Jeff Deal by about 30 points. Incumbent Republican Governor Charlie Baker, of course, retired, but he won by a landslide in 2018, so it's rather surprising how badly Jeff Deal did, although it makes sense being a Trump-backed candidate in Massachusetts. The same thing happened in Maryland, where voters came out in droves to elect Wes Moore as the state's first black governor. Wes Moore actually won by a bigger percentage than Maura Healey, winning by about 32 percentage points, which can be both taken as surprising and unsurprising, as Republican Larry Hogan won by about 12 points in 2018, but also it was the same case of a Trump-backed candidate in a Democratic state. But that's not the only good news for Democrats, as they held on to very competitive races as well. Wisconsin was a big target for Republicans this midterm, and Trump got into the Republican primary pretty late by endorsing Tim Michels for the nomination. But as has been the case in these competitive elections, Trump's hand-picked candidate lost. Incumbent Governor Tony Evers won by about 3.5 percentage points, likely also narrowing the margin of the U.S. Senate race in Wisconsin. A similarly close hold for Democrats happened in Kansas, where incumbent Governor Laura Kelly won by about 2 points. Now, of note, there was an independent conservative candidate in this race. However, even with his votes added up to Derek Schmidt's total, there would have been a narrow re-election of Laura Kelly. Similarly, an independent candidate played a huge role in Oregon, where the incumbent Democratic administration was unpopular, and by the end, it was a closely competitive race. However, once again, Democrats pulled it out, with Tina Kotek winning by about 3 points. Now, there were some bright spots for Republicans. In Georgia, while the Senate election would trend towards Raphael Warnock, Brian Kemp won by a larger margin, avoiding a runoff completely and defeating Stacey Abrams by a pretty good margin. Additionally, Republicans would pick up the governorship in Nevada, where Sheriff Joe Lombardo would defeat incumbent Governor Steve Sisolak. Although a narrow defeat, this would make Steve Sisolak the only Democratic governor to go down in this cycle. However, easily the biggest pickup for Democrats in this election cycle was the Arizona governorship. Democrat Katie Hobbs was seen as running a lackluster campaign. She was behind in polls the whole time, and she wouldn't participate in debates with Kari Lake. However, Democrats turned out big in Arizona and flipped the governorship for Katie Hobbs.